Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to start this week by showing you this blanket that I'm working on. It's grown and grown and grown. And what's funny is that at Christmas I actually finished it, and then I wasn't happy with it. I don't know if anybody noticed in the comments quite a while ago, Kirsty from Oman had put, when she does blankets she has problems with the corners feeling like they're going out and you're losing the square. Well, that's kind of what happened to this. So Boxing Day, I think it was, I'd finished it and I'd actually, cast off and everything, and then I thought, I don't like it, I'm not happy with that. And it's going to the homeless, and if it's going to somebody who's got a new home and has been homeless, then I want it to be as good as something I would want to have in my home, not just fob it off on the middle do. So I actually sat one night when Joe was out and I pulled it all out, wound up balls and balls and balls of, well, I think it was 1.2 kilos of wool, and started again. And I've crocheted it again, and this time I'm happy with it. So I've got about 50 grams of wool to finish putting into it, and I've actually done it in a slightly looser stitch this time, so it feels better and it's kept the square. So I just wanted to show you that, because I've discovered a lady in my group actually goes to the church where the homeless centre is, and so she's going to take it in for me next weekend. So that's the latest in the blankets. So I probably will actually do another one, because it keeps my hands busy, and when my hands are busy my mind's busy, and it doesn't keep drifting to what might be in the kitchen cupboards. Right, I've had a nice week. It's been an okay week, but I just want to say it's Joe's birthday today, and he's 26 today, and which is really nice. Also, a happy birthday to Andrew Fawcett, who is Debbie of Debbie's World's husband, because Andrew shares his birthday with Joe, and I believe Andrew might be 49 today. But happy birthday, Andrew. And it's led me to think this week, in life, even if you're going through a good period, nothing stays the same. And I'm relating to this because before I had Joe, I had 2 miscarriages, and it was an awful time in my life. And you don't ever imagine that you're going to end up getting what you really want. You go through these difficulties, and it might be infertility, it might be miscarriages, it might be illnesses and having to face operations like Joe's had to face in the last year and still has more to face. And you think these things are never going to change and it's never going to get better. And we're all in this because we're actually fighting a weight loss battle. And we see these things as things that can knock us off track and things that we might eat over. And you imagine, when I say you, I mean me, I imagined things were never going to change. And in 1992, I had 2 miscarriages before I got pregnant with Joe. And I never thought I would be in the place I'm in today. And all I can say is, oh my God, those 20 years have flown by. 26 years have flown by. So wherever you are this week and whatever you're dealing with this week, I think what I want to remember is this too will pass. If you're going through a tough time, it will pass, and nothing stays the same. And I can't believe that, there was I struggling with problems and having babies and what have you, or have problems having babies, and here I am 26 years later, and got a son I'm really proud of. So yeah, that's kind of been I was lying in bed this morning thinking about. Nothing stays the same. Even when you're going through a dreadful time in your life, it passes. So, yeah. Last week I mentioned a book I was reading by Rachel Hollis. Now, Rachel Hollis is an entrepreneur, a young woman. She's 35, and I have to say she reads this book that I'm actually reading on Audible. She sounds about 12. Why do people sound so young when you're getting old? She's very vibrant, she's very lively, she's very... The first time I read the book, which I said I was reading it last week, I was like exhausted by the end of it. Oh my God, I talk fast, but I can't keep up with you. So come Thursday, I actually started again, and I thought, I'm going to read this book in smaller chunks, because she is so full of energy, so full of enthusiasm, so vibrant that she was actually wearing me out. and I couldn't take it all in. But I started again on Thursday night, started reading the book in like shorter little episodes. And I thought, read half an hour and digest it. And I have to say that after a couple of days, it is a book I would recommend. I'm not going to say she's a feminist. She writes and she blogs and she has a website which is all about encouraging women and empowering women. And she is a very, very interesting young woman. She's done a lot with her life. She's had a lot of traumas in her life. And this book is worth reading. It's called Girl, Wash Your Face. And I actually read it initially on recommendation from another YouTuber. And she said, read this book. I agree with quite a lot of it and I disagree strongly with some of it. And what I would say so far is I haven't found anything I disagree strongly with. I found things that I think, well, that's not relevant to me at my age, but I haven't found anything I disagree strongly with. But one of the things she does say near the beginning of the book, which I found quite powerful, is find your tribe. And after what I was saying last week about staying to group and Slimming World, I think when I joined Slimming World and took it seriously and committed to doing the plan, I found my tribe. Now, you know, you might never find your tribe in Slimming World. You might have already found your tribe somewhere else. But I just thought, yeah, it's true. Find your tribe, whether it's an exercise community, whether it's a literature community, whether it's a poetry community, whether it's a art and craft community. Find your tribe. Because there is nothing better than feeling like you belong. And there's nothing that can put you more at odds than feeling like you don't belong. And it might not even need to be a big tribe. It can just be a small tribe of 2 or 3 people who become really close to you and really special to you. You don't have to belong to something that is countrywide or worldwide. It can be a very intimate thing. But I think those are sound words, and I took those from the book, Find Your Tribe. And definitely after, you know, sitting through a couple of hours at Slimming World this morning again and coming out feeling encouraged and empowered and motivated, I know that's my tribe. But I also know that if I couldn't sit in my Saturday morning meeting, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words today, I'm tired. If I couldn't sit in my Saturday morning meeting, I could walk into a meeting anywhere in this country and feel like I was part of that tribe. Because we're all there for the same reasons, and most of us want to do it. Yeah. I mean, you do find the odd person in a group who might be there as a social experience, but good for them if that's what they need from it. But I can come out of those meetings and come away feeling refreshed, renewed, and re-energised to want to do another week, irrespective of the result I got this week. Whereas the old me, when I felt like I was the only one who was in it, I was the only one who was focused on working the plan, used to be very much a victim of what the scales said. So that would dictate my mood. And I think this finding your tribe, knowing you belong, feeling like you belong, takes you beyond that. Well, it has me anyway. I should only talk about me. So if you like to read, if you're interested in, I guess this book would fall under the self-help category, but it's not quite the kind of self-help book I've read in the past and thought, what a load of tribe. It's because she's so energised. I don't know what it would be like in print. I'm reading the Audible version and she actually narrates it. And I have to say, the girl has so much energy that it does either wear you out or fire you up. I think for me, at first, she was a bit much. Especially seeing most of my friends say to me, God, Jane, you talk so fast. And my mum often says to me on the phone, slow down, slow down. But this girl has got so much enthusiasm and so much passion for what she believes that it just flows and floods from her. The things she's talking about at the moment that I'm interested in looking more into are the fruits of the Holy Spirit. She's a Christian, but she doesn't ram religion down your throat in this book at all. She only touches on the fact that she's a Christian when she mentions the fruit of the Spirit. It's not about faith. Well, it is about faith. That's wrong. It's not about religion. And it's not about Christianity. It's about her life. and I would recommend it. I would recommend it, but I think I would recommend it in an Audible fashion or via Audible to get the full impact of the book and her enthusiasm. As I say, as a print book, I don't know whether you'd get the same enthusiasm because it can't come across from a printed page in the same way. Right, so that was my number one on my list. What else have I got on my list today, Joe?
New app and cheese.
Something Naomi shared in the group this morning that I hadn't realised is from the end of the year, so for anybody who became a member or who renewed their membership from the 30th of December 2019, you now get the new app. I didn't know we were having a new app. And apparently it's a vast improvement. Well, it couldn't be much worse than the old one, could it? I think Slimming World's app lets them down a bit, but they're working on it. It's obvious they're working on it. And if you've got the new app, apparently it is better and it's much more user friendly. And if you log your food into the new app, it gives you the sins and it keeps a track of your food. So one of the things Naomi said, which I found most useful, was she put in some cheese that she had eaten, which was a mature cheddar, and it immediately came up with 5 sins for 25 grams. It was not an A choice. Now, how many of you will put your hand up with me and say, I just count cheese as cheese as cheese? I'll often take 30 grams of Joe's cheese, which is Ingle White from Marks and Spencer's, which is a goat cheddar, which is very similar to cheddar, isn't it, Joe? I said a goat cheddar. It's a goat cheese, which is very similar to cheddar but nicer. And I'll say 30 grams of cheese. It's not an A choice. And I think I need to tighten up on things like that, because you can't just swap and suit yourself. I know that with my milk, the milk I use, the Alpro Professional Coconut, used to be an A choice. It isn't now. And I have stopped myself saying, well, I used to have 400 mils as an A choice. They changed it. It worked for me when I was losing weight before. I always did it. I still lost weight. That's not right for me today. If the book says it isn't an A choice, it isn't an A choice. So now I sin my coconut milk, and it's 1.5 sins for 100 mils. And I would recommend anybody does the same. Another thing I was mindful of a few weeks ago is, has anybody ever found a grated cheese as an A choice? Because lots of us will buy grated cheddar. Grated cheddars have fillers on them, like a flour, that stops them sticking back together. They are not A choices. I can't find one that is unless I'm mistaken. So, yeah, just a reminder to myself really, I need to tighten up on stuff like that. So if I'm choosing to have Asda's mature cheddar, I believe that is an A choice, but it doesn't mean that everybody else's is. You need to check these things if you want to do it by the book. You may not choose to do it by the book. You might want to do your version of it, and I'm not to say you shouldn't.
Mum, on the app it says 30 grams of grated cheddar is an A choice.
It is an A choice. Anybody's grated cheddar.
It just says grated cheddar, so I guess so. That's kind of like an umbrella statement.
Yeah, but we were talking in group this morning that some of them are so full of those floury fillers that they're not A choices.
Morrison's, Iceland, Co-op.
They're all A choices.
Yeah. Cathedral.
Right. So I stand corrected.
Creamfields.
But the one that I use of your cheese, the Ingle White, isn't an A choice, is it? So I shouldn't be counting Ingle White as an A choice. So I need to tighten up on that one. But yeah, this is on the app we're using, which is the old app. If we get the new app, it'll be interesting to see how they sit on there, whether they are the same or whether there are changes. So thanks for that, Joe. I honestly thought that a lot of the grated cheeses weren't.
The Ingle White's 4.5 for 25 grams.
Yeah, so you see, I've been counting 30 grams of Ingle White as an A choice, but I actually should be counting 4.5 sins for 25 grams, because it states it's not an A choice. And I can be really lazy with cheese. I can just go, well, 30 grams of any cheese. I've done it all the time I've been at Target. And it's obviously not working on me because I'm not actually at Target, am I? So there are things I need to tighten up on. Right, next heading, Joe, was it vegetarian?
Yeah.
I've had an entire week, 7 days of being a vegetarian, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I've been making my own dals and things like that. I've been eating rice every day, which I know doesn't suit me. I've actually really, really enjoyed my food this week. I've eaten a lot of pulses. I've been buying things like Heinz barbecue beans and eating the big tin, and they are free on the plan. I've been buying Heinz curried beans, which I absolutely discovered I love. They're 1.5 cents for the big tin, and I've eaten 3 or 4 of those big tins this week. And I know, like with my history, it's living well by 4.5 years, that this kind of food doesn't work for me. But I'm doing it by the book. The book says it's free. One day I needed a quick meal, and I took a microwave sachet of Tilda basmati, no, that wasn't basmati, what's the word I'm looking for, Joe? Onion bhaji. Tilda onion bhaji rice, which was 2.5 cents, and I combined it with a tin of Heinz curried beans, which is 1.5 cents. The curried beans are on offer in Asda at the moment at 50p. So my whole meal cost me £1.50 and 4 cents. And when I'd finished it, I thought, oh my God, I'm so full. So the big tin of beans, the double sachet, because those sachets of rice are actually supposed to be for 2 people. But hey, 4 cents. And it's been like that all week. I've been eating what I call comfort food as a vegetarian. Lots of different kinds of beans. I used the what was the soup mix, Scotch broth mix I showed the other week, and I actually soaked it overnight, and I made some dal with the Scotch broth mix and courgette and red onion and sweet potatoes, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But it's stodge, and there are times in your life when you need something that sticks to your ribs and is stodgy because you're feeling that way. Well, that's the kind of week I've had, but I haven't gone over 12 sins any day this week, and haven't gone under 8. So I've been averaging between 8 and 12 sins every day. One of the things I did do last night, which is something that I don't usually do, I drank 2 litres of Diet Coke last night. I started off, I had this bottle of caffeine-free Diet Coke, and I started off by drinking some, and it's like, oh God, I love that. And the more I drank, the thirstier I got. And by the end of the night, I'd literally got 1/2 inch left in the bottom of a 2 litre bottle. And when I say to you, Diet Coke does not make me wee, I literally drank that 2 litre bottle before I went to bed. I didn't get up in the night for a wee, which I generally do. I got up this morning, I went for a wee, and I thought, was it worth it? And I went to group, and I feel fine, I feel healthy, I've enjoyed my food all week. Like I say, I've wanted that kind of comfort, stodgy food this week, but I've made a point of doing it as a vegetarian, and a lot of the meals I've had have been vegan as well. But I have been eating cheese all week. I've had cheese on toast a couple of times, but with using my A and B choices. And on the day when I had the bread as a second, because I'd already had my B choice, I simmed the bread. So I know I'm doing it properly, and it is important to me to stick to plan. And I've enjoyed it. But I haven't enjoyed the results I got from it, because I went into group this morning feeling brilliant. I don't feel like I've gained weight. I feel fine. I mean, I'm dressed the way I've been dressed for group. I've just come back. I've got size 8 trousers on, I've got a size 10 top on, and I've got a small cardigan on. So can't grumble at that, can I? But I've also got a £3 gain. And when I say I don't want the results at the scale to dictate my mood, I also don't like what I call an undeserved gain. Because I am trying to get back into target, and I really thought doing a vegetarian week wouldn't do me any harm. I was expecting a £0.5, £1 loss this morning, and I feel like over Christmas I wasn't perfect, and I got to maintain. Over New Year I wasn't perfect, I got a £2 loss. Went in today feeling like I've had a really, really, really good week as a vegetarian. and got a £3 gain. And I was talking to the lady who sits next to me, who's a type 2 diabetic and has been for years. And she said to me, run me through some of the stuff you've been eating, because she's a long-term member. She actually was Slimmer of the Week this week. And I ran her through, and when I'm saying da-da-da-da-da, and I made vegan dal, and I had rice, and da-da-da-da-da, and I had so-and-so, and I had rice. And she said, as a type 2 diabetic, I would say you eat an awful lot of rice, and that is high on the glycemic index. Well, I know bugger all about the glycemic index. But I do know that although I feel great, and although I feel in shape, I don't want that result week after week. So it's kind of knocked my duck off a bit, because I'm thinking, well, I would like to lean more towards being a vegetarian. I'm more comfortable eating as a vegetarian. But if it's going to affect my weight in that way, on a continuing basis, it's not going to get me back into target, is it? So I've come away from group, I walked in the door, Joe saw my result because he was there when I got weight, and I walked in the door and I said, I'm pissed off. I could kill somebody. And it's like, you're doing it again, you're letting it dictate your mood, and it's ridiculous because it's done, isn't it? It's done. But, yeah. Anybody who watches this who is a vegetarian, I suppose you could give me some sort of feedback if you felt so inclined. But then if you're a long-term vegetarian, and you've always done this as a vegetarian, it's not going to affect your body in different ways on different weeks, because you're not switching and swapping between. It took me back many years to when we used to do the red plan and the green plan. I would do the red plan and shed weight. I'd swap to the green plan because I was sick to death of meat, and I'd put weight on. And yet people who did the green plan week after week after week got really good results. So I'm in a bit of a mix and a muddle today after getting weighed in, because I've really enjoyed what I've eaten. But I'm a bit like, dare I eat it again next week? Is this going to happen again? Or is a lot of this weight down to the 2 litres of Diet Coke from last night, which is, I don't know. So yeah, not the perfect week, but a good week on plan. Not the perfect result, should I say, but a good week on plan. And all I can do is carry on and not beat myself up and not get into any sort of diet mentality. And I think that's where I'm at today. It's a bit of a mix and a muddle, but I'm with my tribe. So yeah, it's an ongoing journey. Nobody is going to get weight loss every week. And if we did, if I'd have kept having weight loss every week, I'd be down to about 5 stone and anorexic by now, wouldn't I? But yeah, I need to get back into target, but I desperately need to not get obsessed with it and not get desperate to get there. So I think that's all I really had on my list, was it, for today, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a true reflection of where I'm at after group. If you'd have said to me before group, what result do you think you've got today? I would have said £0.5 to £1 loss. Just purely going on what I've eaten, the amount of sins I've had, the A's and B's I've had. But it just makes me more determined to keep looking at the plan. I'm quite excited about getting the new app. It is going to be rolled out to all of us eventually. So all of us old members will get it eventually. And if it makes it that much easier to actually put something in and be told straight away, this is not an A or a B choice, I think that's a good thing. I just need to focus. I haven't written my food down every day this week. I've written down my sins, but I haven't written my food down. And maybe I could up the speed a bit, but I know I have enough. I don't want to obsess about everything has to be speed. Free food is my friend, like Anna says on the Slimming World podcast. Free food is our friend. And I'm just going to go forward, carry on. This is my lifestyle now. But I like to come back and talk honestly about what I've done and how I feel about it. I'll be back next weekend, and I wish you all well. Thanks for the great comments this week. See you all soon. Bye.